Otosaka was contemplating his life in the middle of the street like a worthless loser with no job or friends. He had the ability to control another person's body for 5 seconds. Talk about a lame power, but it had its perks. He used it to toy around and mess with his bullies. On top of all of this, he used it to cheat on exams by memorizing everyone's answers. Now that I think about it, this was a very neat trick. He went to different schools and researched the smartest people. This guy went from a broke loser to an unsung prodigy in no time. As a result, he was inducted to the top school with the highest mark. He even gave a speech like he worked hard for this achievement. Does this fool have no shame? His looks had the ladies smitten, and he kept on receiving love requests constantly. He rejected them all because he had his eyes set on Yumi, the Madonna of the school and the princess of his dream. He devised a devious plan to gain her trust by saving her from the infamous Truck-kun, and here I thought we were about to witness an isekai. That boy was smooth with it, and after consoling her, he decided to take her to the nurse and got her patched up. She was super grateful for this and asked him out on a date. Upon realizing his interest, her friend made an excuse and bailed to leave them all alone. Oh, you sly dog. You got the girl of your fantasy and the school of your dreams. Eating pancakes and flirting like a real G, he even walked her home. Everything was going well for our guy until he was called into the student council room. The president accused him of cheating and demanded he retake the exam on the spot. Since he received above 99, which was considered super sus, he tried possessing the president, who was staring at a questionable magazine. Just then, another student, Tamori, recorded everything and exposed his superpowers. She was stalking him all along, and he ran outside like a little coward. He even knocked Yumi over and started running away from what seemed like a missile. Were they trying to take him in dead or alive? It's hard to say at this point. Another student, Takajo, flew at him with lightning speed and gave him the flash treatment. Damn, that was impressive. After knocking some sense into him, he explained that he also possessed an ability, teleportation. However, he isn't able to stop it where he wanted. What is up with these defected powers? Tamori came and told him to attend their school for gifted individuals, kinda like Hogwarts basically. He didn't believe her until she went invisible and beat him silly. It's not so much that she could go invisible, rather, she can eliminate her presence from whomever she chooses. That's one way to sneak into concerts for free. Upon returning home, his sister, Ayumi, was super excited to announce her school transfer. It seems the school arranged housing for both of them. Afterward, they sat down to eat, but he was fed up with the pizza sauce she kept on spamming with every meal. It seems the sauce was a family heirloom and the only reminder of their parents. Later on, she kept on staring at stars, since that was her passion. He tried convincing her to take on another passion, but she was too stubborn to even listen. The next day, they went to the new campus and were introduced to their new apartment. She couldn't contain her excitement, and he felt a sigh of relief. Since they were given scholarships, everything was paid for. He then met up with Yumi to explain his transfer, but wasn't allowed to mention anything. Since the distance was super far, she told him how grateful she was and dumped him. Oh man, this must suck. Tamori came by to help him unpack, but he was against the idea of them being around his sister, and once again, pizza sauce inspired dinner. What a life, am I right? Next day, my guy dressed up looking chic and was ready for his first day at school. His arrival was welcomed cordially by Tamori, who explained to him that a few students possessed abilities here and the rest were potential suspects. She then informed him of the threats looming over these special students and asked him to help them secure their future. That's a lot of responsibilities for a new kid, though. He was against it at first, until he was told of the compensation, of course. Money sure does talk. He went to class and introduced himself boldly. He then proceeded to sit in front of the Taka, the teleportation freak, who invited him to get some lunch at the cafeteria. Since the place was packed, Taka tried teleporting to get some sandwiches and ended up making a huge mess. His ability is counterproductive if you ask me. Back in class, our boy seemed worried about Tamori, who was isolated from everyone. It seems her ability made her public enemy #1. She then told Otosaka that a helper was showing up and proceeded to the beautifully decorated lounge. A creepy-looking drenched figure walked in and pointed at a map. His ability allowed him to locate special mutants in a way. Afterward, they went to another high school looking for strange clues. Tomori found someone and asked Otosaka to hijack his body. He did so in a jiffy, and they found pictures of questionable women. The guy confessed that he got it from the guy. They found the culprit, who was the captain of the Archer team. His ability allowed him to unclothe women by imagining it. We need more of this guy. However, he was outclassed by them, and Tomori threatened him to stop using his abilities or become a guinea pig for the scientists. Otosaka asked Tomori about her bigger brother, who was abused by the scientists, and she suggested they go visit him. They grabbed a bite first, and Tomori had no manners eating in public. Her confidence was infectious. We were then shown a flashback of when she was a kid. Her brother was a guitarist and she was a bright student. However, her mother announced that they were going to a boarding school and broke down in tears begging them. I'm guessing she was threatened. While in school, the two separated and they used her brother as a lab rat for their experiments. When she finally met him, he became brain dead. They went to the mental institution, and upon entering the room, they found her brother acting like a total maniac. After sedating him, he seemed completely off. How unfortunate. The following day, he broke the news to her like a man, telling her he'll be eating in the cafeteria from here on out. Quite the manly statement, wouldn't you say? Luckily for him, he had a teleportation freak capable of getting him free food. Sounds like a huge win to me. However, his ability is starting to make me worried. All that blood can't be normal, can it? Even so, our boy ate some quality food after a while. After all, pizza sauce with every food is annoying. They then went to the lounge where the creepy, drenched mutant told them their next location. The next person had two abilities, channeling and pyrokinesis. Now that's neat. They went to the spot and Tomori channeled her inner Sherlock and started deducing like a pro. One of the bystanders told them the name, and it was a famous idol named Nishimori. They then found someone there and barged into him. After interrogating him, he told them about the incident and sent him on his way. Another friend of hers came to question them, however. After showing them their powers, he decided to trust them and took them to an underground club. They found Yusa, and while Tomori was talking to her, she suddenly changed from an adorable pumpkin to a hot-headed control freak. Yusa had changed to her dead older sister Misa, and that's why they possessed two abilities. Talk about a confusing situation. To make matters worse, Yusa had stolen the producer's phone, and he wanted her killed. Tomori volunteered to help, and came up with a shrewd plan. They met up with the producer later that night, and upon threatening Yusa, Misa took over and burned his guards to a crisp. Misa made fools of everyone and even used Tomori to send a message to the producer. Well, this worked out well. Afterward, Tomori insisted she join their school before she gets kidnapped and experimented on. Later on, Otosaka went back home to a furious maiden. She sure was bossy. Other than his abilities, his life seemed pretty ordinary. Aside of the pizza sauce-infused breakfasts, now that was completely absurd. Since he was afraid of her, he gobbled it up like a champ and headed to school where everyone seemed super excited. After all, their star idol Yusa was joining their class. She was absolutely adorable and everyone was on board the fan train. They kept on surrounding her and asking her to do her performance. I can't lie, she does have a spark to her.
Cast a spell on you! I cast a spell on you!
Unfortunately for everyone, Tomori dragged her into the lounge where the drenched creep shook the life out of her. This time, the power user possessed telekinesis, and it was a baseball player. Well, this should be fascinating. Using telekinesis to gain advantage and status, now that's the dream of any sport player. They went up to him, and Tomori warned him to stop using his magic, since the abilities will vanish after his teens, and he could get kidnapped by scientists. Seeing as how he was reluctant to listen to her, she suggested a game of baseball between their schools to settle the odds once and for all. The following day, they were all hyped to get things going, and Yusa motivated the players to give it their best. They both seemed evenly matched at first, until they started using their powers, of course. Telekinesis was no joke, especially in sports. But don't forget, Otosaka used his possession to immobilize the batters. His power was insane. Let's also not forget the teleportation freak who blitzed his way through. After a long back and forth, they finally won, and the telekinesis player agreed not to use his powers anymore. Who would have thought? The next day, A couple of students walked into class and dragged Tomori out to give her a beating of a lifetime. Otosaka didn't interfere, and they went back to the lounge where they were told of the next ability, levitation. Tomori brought out a magazine where a flying man was spotted. As such, they decided to camp there till he showed up. They went to the supermarket to get some items for their barbecue and camp. Upon arriving at the forest, they set up tent and got to grilling. They sure didn't waste time when it came to food. Later on, Yusa was enjoying her video games while Tomori was more of a music person. The music she was listening to resonated with Otosaka, and the two found common ground at last. In fact, she gave him the iPod as a gift. The following day they went fishing and continued to enjoy their time. They made camping look so easy. Showering wasn't all that fun though for the boys. The girls had things differently. The next day, a random kid showed up trying to give them a hard time and threatened to call the police. However, Tomori turned the tables around him and revealed his secret. She even had it on tape, but the guy stole it from her and had to be stopped by Otosaka, who crashed to the ground. Tomori warned him of his ability and gave him the usual lecture. Later on, Otosaka was scolded once again. However, things changed since the pizza sauce was out and the food tasted delicious. Things are started to look up, huh? Or so we thought. His little sis caught a fever and had to be bedridden. That's life for you. She seemed quite ill and had to skip school. Elsewhere, they found another mutant with an ability called Collapse. Seems quite the formidable ability. To make matters worse, it was someone in their condo, and this freaked Otosaka out. Since his sister was sick at home, this didn't bode well for them. The trio decided to go check things out and insisted on making dinner for her. They went to the market to get some stuff, and they spent a whole allowance inside there. Afterward, Yusa tried disguising herself while Otosaka went in to greet her school friends. They left, and upon seeing Yusa, she kept on bleeding like a fire hydrant. Talk about a fangirl. They made some dinner and everyone enjoyed their time. Unfortunately, Yusa had to leave since she had a performance, and this left Tomori and Otosaka on a mission to clean the dishes. His sis kept on teasing them, calling them the perfect couple. Now that you mention it, they would turn out great. Everything seemed well, and she showed no sign of abilities. Collapse. What kind of ability could it be? Was it like degrade? After sending Tomori off, Otosaka asked her about the nightmare she had, and she told him she saw things breaking. The next day, they tried discussing the issue inside the lounge and went back to her. Even though she was feeling better, Otosaka insisted she stay in bed since her ability could cause collateral damage. However, she turned into a spy and decided to sneak out of the window. Meanwhile, Tomori told them that Ayumi went to school and could be a liability. They tried rushing there, however. Ayumi blew off this kid in class and was confronted by her jealous friend. She had the hots for him and pulled out a cutter to end Ayumi. This girl is giving me serial killer vibes. She cornered her, and upon attempting to cut her, her ability Collapse unleashed and destroyed the entire building. Otosaka tried looking for her in the rubble and was knocked out. Upon waking up in the hospital, he was told that Ayumi didn't make it. You see, this is why I hate anime. What did she ever do to deserve this? Otosaka was completely heartbroken. He found some noodles Ayumi left for him and kept on munching them down one after the other. His friends came by to try and cheer him up, but he wasn't feeling it, and they felt hopeless. His life felt like it was crumbling, and even his previous crush, Yumi, came to help out. But he was beyond help at this point and acted all dead inside. When she tried goading him to leave, he turned into a monster and scared her off. The next day, the cops came to take him by force, but forgot that he was supernaturally gifted. He then went far away to evade their pursuit and decided to stay at an internet cafe. His life seemed miserable and everything appeared gloomy until he went to an arcade. Upon killing zombies, he found his new passion and officially started his villain arc. A couple of students started hogging the machine and tried bullying him. However, he turned the tables around and pitted them against one another. I guess 5 seconds is sufficient to win a fight. Another gang heard of his mischief and tried their luck, but ended up with the same result. Who knew this ability could be this overpowered? He went around town beating up everyone and turned into the boss. The following day, he found a stash of the good stuff and decided to roll it up until he was stopped by Tomori. It turns out she was there the whole time. Damn, her ability is insane. She felt miserable since she couldn't do anything about it. But this time, she wanted to atone by making him the same meal his sister used to make. It was now time to rejuvenate and heal. He got his shit together and went back to class feeling brand new. Tamori sure pulled a number on him. Things went back to normal and he ate his favorite lunch before heading to the lounge in a hurry. They opened a music video made by Yusa and everyone loved her performance. Tamori was a bit critical of it though, since she was a picky listener. Afterward, she showed them tickets of a concert she loved and wanted to take a +1. After much debate, they decided on Otosaka, since he needed time to heal. On his way back, he found a blind woman, Shane, who insisted on taking her to a noodle spot. It turned out that she was the lead singer behind the concert. What are the odds? Shane sensed his gloomy attitude and realized he was grieving. They talked a bit and he called Tamori, who seemed unenthusiastic about meeting her idol. Afterward, he asked to take her to Tamori's bigger brother and went to another noodle spot for dinner. These two started to hit things off and turned out like good besties. It was getting late, but they finally arrived to the facility. Upon entering the room, they found him going crazy, and Shane started singing to his chaos. This helped calm his nerves and regain his partial sanity. What a miracle. The following day, Otosaka met up with Tamori, who looked fine as a cherry. There were tons of people there, and they finally went to the stage. Our blind singer, Shane, rocked their world with her voice. Who knew she was a rock enthusiast? Just then, her song sent our boy into a frenzy, and we were sent to another timeline where his sister was alive. Whoa, this transition was crazy. Was it a dimensional skip or a parallel universe? The facility was designed to incarcerate the mutants, and it also seemed that he had a bigger brother. The drenched freak was there, and they both plotted a way of escaping this place. They kept those with ability inside, and took away his sister as a result. Afterward, the doc freed him and told him Ayumi's collapse ability was triggered. He informed him to use his true ability, Blunder, which was the ability to steal other abilities. While running away, he contacted his brother using telepathy and was almost caught until he stole the ability of permutation, which allowed him to go through walls. He finally set his brother free, who was able to travel through time. Meanwhile, he woke up in the real world, and the drenched freak, Kumagami, came to explain everything. He took him to a secret laboratory underground, and this place looked highly secure. That's where he met his older brother, Shunsuke, who started narrating his story. He told him he traveled to the past and started gathering special kids. After telling them their deepest secret, they all believed him. They gathered a bunch of them but failed once again. As a result, he traveled to the past once again to rewrite history. He kept on going back more and more like it was a rewind button. However, his ability had a drawback. His vision gradually faded with every time skip. Soon enough, he only had one shot to go back, and he wanted to make sure it was the last time. He turned completely blind, however, he managed to construct a facility for the special kids. To keep himself anonymous, he erased his memories from his siblings and moved out, bidding them adieu. In the present, Otosaka was surprised at all this, but was even more shocked to hear of his true ability. It wasn't just possessing others for 5 seconds, rather, he was able to steal them. It was called Blunder, and using it, he stole his brother's time travel ability and went back to the past. As soon as he woke up, he found himself at the day they found out Ayumi's ability. Things went as planned, and right before Tamori left, he told her of the truth. She believed every word he said and went to steal Ayumi's ability. The next day, they disguised themselves as students to save Ayumi from the stalker. He hid inside the closet, while the rest were immediately spotted. Things didn't go as they planned. It was time for the stalker to slice open his sister, only this time, he popped up to protect her. Using his collapse ability, he scared the life out of her and saved the day. While walking back home, he was stopped and ushered to his big brother. Ayumi, for one, was confused, but Shunsuke understood that this was the second time they met after hearing his story. He then told him to stay at the facility for their own sake and showed him the laboratory. This was where they were experimenting on vaccines. Apparently, the abilities were gained after a meteor fell onto Earth and was considered as a disease. As such, using the vaccine, they were planning on getting rid of abilities once and for all. Ayumi and Otosaka made themselves at home, and things were going by smoothly. One day, Kumagami's driver apologized to him since his family was taken hostage and took him to an abandoned warehouse. The mafia beat him down and started interrogating him. It was brutal torture, and after a while, he spilled everything to them unwillingly. Later on, they hijacked Tamori's house and took her hostage. They called Shunsuke and told him to send Otosaka alone or else. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to time skip since they took the driver's family hostage a long time ago, and they were left with no option but to let him leave alone and time skip to this point in time if the situation got desperate. He mustered his strength and went to the warehouse. He tried possessing them, but an assassin came out of nowhere and slashed one of his eyes. Without both eyes, he was unable to time skip. As such, he used collapse as a last resort. Luckily, he made it out alive, but the same couldn't be said about Kumagami, who died saving Tomori. Shunsuke was devastated at the loss of his best friend, while Otosaka woke up in the hospital barely able to move. His eye was lost and things seemed desperate. Shunsuke was grieving the death of his friend, while Ayumi came to visit her brother. Fortunately, Otosaka had loyal friends who were willing to take care of him. He then went to his brother to try and console him, but Shunsuke was feeling too depressed. Upon returning to his room, he found Tomori all healed up, and she suggested that he steal every ability possible and bring an end to this nightmare. It was an impossible mission, but it was a plan. He agreed to it and started by stealing her ability. After announcing the plan to Shunsuke, he agreed and convinced everyone else. Otosaka then stole the remaining powers and was ready to conquer the world. Now this was a heartwarming story filled with ups and downs. If you loved Otosaka's journey and want more amazing content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to stay updated.